Hi, I'm Lauren Edmonds. I'm the founder and owner of a school that supports children with learning delays. I'm hoping this space gives you something to think about. I had a conversation today with a parent who has a young boy. He's about 8 years old, and he's on the autism spectrum with anxiety and ADHD and all the comorbids that go with it. And they're struggling greatly with him because he's going through a very difficult phase. And at home, there's not a lot of time for them as a family because he can become quite resistant. And that's to a large extent irrelevant. What's relevant is that they are struggling to cope. They're struggling to manage the bigness of being parents to this little boy who is very different and is not easy to parent and often can make their lives pretty hard. And chatting to him this morning and trying to work out some other ideas that they could do at home that would be different for them, that could be important. And he was talking about this big race that he's been training for. And on the day of the race, he's very worried that his son's not going to be okay with the trip to the race. And he's an exceptional dad and an exceptional family man. And he knows that if his son's not okay, he's not going to be able to run the race. And on the other side, he's saying he's trained so hard for the race, it would be quite devastating to not run it because I think it's a triathlon, which it's insane, right? To train for and participate in. So if he doesn't get to do that race, he would gladly give it up if his son wasn't coping. But, why should he? So I managed to chat a little bit around the importance of every person in the family. And that particular weekend when the dad is running or doing the triathlon, whole weekend is only about the dad. It's not about anybody else. It's his weekend. It's all about what he's been training for. It can't possibly be about anybody else. So what does the family need to do to make that possible so the dad is freed up to go and participate in this weekend that he's been looking forward to and training for? And then perhaps there's another weekend that's all about something else, perhaps the whole family. And how do they prioritize that and work towards that? And then, of course, I spoke about how do we cope as parents when we have got children that are really struggling and are high demand kids at home. And one of the things you have to do as a couple is you have to look after the marriage. You have to look after your relationship with your spouse or your partner. The resistance was quite interesting because I completely get what he was saying. His comment was, yes, but we book a weekend away and then my son's not doing okay and then we can't go. And I see that. It's a disappointment in plans. It's a waste of money. So I flipped it around and I said, well, why even plan it? There are so many places, an hour, 2, 3 hours, 4 hours even out of Joburg that you could get accommodation at the last minute. What happens if you find a weekend or you stumble across a weekend where he's doing well and he's happy to go off to granny for the weekend or the aunt or wherever he's going to go, and you take that opportunity and you get in the car and you go, because looking after your marriage is as important as looking after your son. So that was something that he could tap into, something that made a bit more sense. And the conversation was actually just tapping into the different things that are making it seem impossible and looking at flipping them on their heads a little bit and go, well, what makes it feel impossible? And what if it was done slightly differently? Is that more possible? And then bringing it down to what your values are as a family. And your values are your relationship with your spouse. Your values are your relationship with your child, the goals and dreams that you have, your work, because that's what brings in the income so that you can manage all of this. So detailing out your priorities and then getting flexible around the priorities so that you can make them each a priority is so important. I know I struggled with this as a young mom of young kids, because I was the primary caregiver. My husband would go off and play golf on a Saturday, and I would look forward to the occasional Sunday where I could take some time for myself. But as soon as I got to Sunday, I wouldn't want to take time for myself. I would want to be with the whole family. And while that was wonderful, I missed out on those opportunities to just step back a bit. And that's the equivalent of putting the oxygen mask on yourself, looking after yourself so that you can look after others. Because if you're not okay, You really can't help your child. It might seem like you can in the beginning, and you might, but as the years go by, as you get worn down, as you get tired, perhaps older as well, it becomes harder and harder to look after somebody else when you're not looked after. And it becomes harder to look after your children when your partner, your relationship, your marriage is not looked after. So each of these things is really important, and finding flexible ways to get around it and to make it work for everybody is really important.